Hello. Welcome back to the Thread of Thoughts podcast, y'all. I'm back. It's your host, Tia, and I'm just so excited to talk to y'all today because I'm just so ready. I'm just so amped up. Like, I got up this morning, the sun was shining, took a shower, cleaned up a little bit, and I'm just so ready to talk to y'all, okay? As you guys know, well, you guys may not know, but majority of the time, every topic I discuss is because I have experienced something recently that provided me with a specific outlook on a situation, right? Like, there is a possibility that something prompted me to discuss a specific topic, whether it's a thought, an idea, an experience, whatever. And this is about 90% of the time, right? But today we will be discussing being intentional and living your truth. So, what is being intentional and living your truth? Being intentional to me means being mindful of the choices and the decisions that you make. Being intentional means carrying a certain level of awareness with what you do. Now, living your truth, that's where you actually embrace who you really are, your values and your beliefs. And you do that without necessarily conforming to the opinions or judgment of others. And honestly, this might take you going against other people's beliefs, traditions, routines, whatever, but ultimately it is putting you first at all times. So for a little bit more context on why I decided to talk about this today, I was actually looking at jobs the other day just to see what's out there, just, doing some job searching. And I noticed that my primary job search was for roles that are in my current field, which sort of isn't my passion anymore. And if you've listened to my college experience episode, you'd hear where I share how, I'm kind of outgrowing this field and I express my new interest in the field of marketing, right? And this is all right because, as we grow, it's possible to outgrow certain career paths and previous interests. And sometimes it's just time to embrace and embark on those new journeys. I attended this webinar recently where author C. Brooks stated that the average college student has 11 jobs and 4 different career paths in their life. And I just thought this was so interesting because I feel like I'm entering career path number 2. And I kind of have an idea of what the other career paths could be. Like, these fields sort of spark my interest. Like, these are fields I think I would do good in. But, one thing at a time. Marketing is most important to me right now. So I'm going to focus on that. But as I was saying, I was just seeing what was out there. And eventually I began to submit applications. Again, just to see. But as I was completing these applications, I began to feel like I just wasn't being truthful with myself and that I wasn't moving in the direction in which my soul is calling me to do so. Now, I don't have experience in marketing. I just don't, or at least not to the extent of what most companies are seeking. Entering the world of marketing will be a career change for me just completely. So, though marketing is what I would like to pursue, I'm always a little bit hesitant to submit applications for marketing roles because I'm already assuming that I am not what they're looking for, right? But that's wrong. And why am I making these assumptions in the first place? I shouldn't, because there may be a chance that I am the perfect fit for a certain company. I don't know yet. I just feel like when I was conducting this job search, I wasn't navigating through this process in a way that aligns with my goals. And I also wasn't cognizant of what I was putting my energy towards. So I'm putting my energy towards something I know deep down, deep down, isn't in alignment with my professional goals and where I see myself in the future. I also noticed that when I was interviewing prior to me landing this current role that I'm in, I would get asked questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And because I'm interviewing for an HR role, I'd say something along the lines of, something being related to the field. And I'd say, well, In 5 years, I would hope to move up and be an HR manager, something in alignment with the field, knowing that one, I don't care to climb any corporate ladders and managing a team of people really isn't something I desire. And two, in 5 years, I'd hope to be in marketing. like, and I truly believe that most of the time interviews are just interviewers lying to interviewees and interviewees lying to interviewers. But I can't stand it. I just really can't. I honestly can't stand lying in any capacity. I'm not a liar. I only lie when it comes to my safety, really. But other than that, it's just a no, because when you lie, you have to keep up with the lie, and it's just too much. But anyways, I noticed that when I'm saying these things, not only am I aware of the fact that I'm not being authentic to myself and true to myself, but I become aware that I'm confusing the universe. And this is something my friend would always tell me, and it makes so much sense because, see, when you're praying or you're manifesting, requesting, whatever you do from whatever higher power you believe in, and you're asking for something, but you aren't taking the actions towards what you're asking for, you're confusing them. Each step you take in the opposite direction is you progressively showing that you are not serious. So each time I am submitting an application for an HR role, how will the universe know that I really want to pursue marketing when it looks like I'm still trying to pursue human resources? Right? How is the universe going to give me a marketing position when I am continuously applying to human resources positions? For example, too, I'd always say, oh my gosh, please heal me from this heartbreak. Please take away the pain. And then I would go back to messing with this guy. Like, it made no sense. And then I'd be confused on why I'd be crying or why I'm not healed, thinking that my prayer is delayed when really the universe is giving me what I'm placing my energy into. And I really had to sit with that because things begin to unfold for you the moment you are honest with yourself about what you want out of life. And the more you take those steps towards getting what you want out of life. So the other day, I had my first ever interview for a marketing role, and it just felt right. Y'all, it felt so right. Well, let me be clear. Let me be clear. The initial interview felt right. It felt very much in alignment. Now, the second interview, I started to feel this decline in confidence because the questions that they asked me truly showed me I just don't know shit about marketing, really. Like, I really don't. And I'm so dead ass too. But I also don't want to downplay myself like this. There were just lots of terminology and concepts that I don't understand or I just haven't come across it yet in my studies. But I had to remind myself that this doesn't mean I can't learn it and I can't master it, because I am in fact teachable. I am in fact willing. And that's what matters most, right? After the interview, I was really beating myself up. I was really in my head. I started to overthink and overanalyze how I performed in this interview. Just, oh, I should have said this. I should have done that. Whatever. I literally started crying that night just thinking about it. I was really in my head, just bad, okay? And to this day, I'm doing my best to overpower those negative thoughts with positive ones just to simply regain my confidence, okay? I was really in my head, okay? But, I may not know marketing like the back of my hand. And of course, like I said, entering the world of marketing will be just a new career path for me. Overall, it's just a very different thing for me. It's a process of change, and change evokes emotion, which is not out of the ordinary. And just because I felt a little less confident in the second interview doesn't mean my vision isn't in alignment for me anymore. It doesn't mean that. And the truth is, I still want to pursue marketing. And instead of beating myself up, I'm proud of myself for going through this process and being determined and just sticking it out. I really had to shift my perspective because even if I'm not granted this opportunity, one, I made connections. Two, I now have a sense of questions that are asked in marketing interviews. And three, I now know what I need to work on or learn to come back better next time, right? This is just a part of the process. It's kind of like those, you got to fall down 8 times, get up 7 steps back, 8 steps forward. You know what I'm talking about. It's like one of those quotes. Y'all know what I mean. Y'all get what I'm saying. But I will continue to be truthful with my goals. And that's what matters most. So another example where I wasn't living my truth was actually a few years ago where I was going through the home buying process. I just laughed because it was just, I was just doing, what society tells you to do, trying to be a young homeowner, buy a house, it's an investment, whatever. And I was also doing my best to make my mom proud. And I feel like a lot of the things that I do is to make my mom proud. Not everything, but a lot. And that's something I also want to touch on as well now that I think about it, is because not living your truth, I believe, can stem from people pleasing or trying to live the life others want you to live, or fulfilling the dreams others couldn't fulfill for themselves, or just like a simple need for external validation. And then you have to figure out the root of what's causing you to have these people pleasing tendencies. And like, you have to find the root of the root of the root. And I won't get into that today, but I really do believe that not living your truth can stem from those things and many, many more. But my mother is someone who always wants the best for her children, right? She just does. Since I was a little girl, I've always sought my mom's thumbs up on a lot. And that's sort of carried through to adulthood today. A lot of choices I've made were centered around, what would my mom do? What does my mom think? Her opinion was always number one. And I'm still practicing breaking away from this every day, just learning to become my own person outside of my mom, and also practicing independent thinking. And everything that my mom has taught me is extremely useful, and it will be conveyed into, who I'm meant to be. And also, don't get me wrong, okay? I might need my mother's point of view and perspective on a few things. I might got to call her up, hit her up and be like, Mom, what you think about this? You know what I mean? Like, what I'm going to do about this? You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you need that, but I need to be able to know when to separate the two. There will always be a continuous discussion around if renting or buying is better. Always. This will always be a discussion. Going through the home buying process truly made me sick to my fucking stomach. Like, I am not playing, okay? That to me was all the confirmation I needed. That was the sign that was like, maybe another time, Tia. That was all the confirmation I needed right there. Every time I talked to the realtor, every time we started talking about the fees and all of this, I was just like, yo, like my stomach would flip. I also haven't ever lived on my own before either. And so when I do make the choice to do so, I would prefer for it to be an apartment. I don't want to cut grass. I don't want to have to outsource the best company to help with plumbing. I don't want to deal with that. Like, I just don't. I've never even lived on a college campus. So, like I said, when I choose to live on my own, it needs to be a slow process. It needs to be a slow process. And like I said, that gut feeling that I was getting was telling me I was doing something that I just didn't want to do, or something that I did need to do. And I just wasn't being honest with myself throughout this process. Eventually, though, I did terminate the process, and I felt a huge relief ever since. A huge relief ever since. It's so crazy because I feel like when you're in the moment, you're just kind of going through the process of things and just you're too busy to know what you're doing sometimes, if that makes sense. And it's when you actually sit and like formulate these experiences into words and you think about it and you reflect on it and you sit with it, you're just kind of like, I did that? What the fuck was I thinking? Or, and of course your gut will tell you in the moment or you'll get whatever sign. But it's just like when I think about this, I'm just like, I can't believe I was really trying to do that. I don't know. And honestly, this might be an episode of examples because at this point, I'm kind of rambling. But even when it came to dating, this just popped up in my head. Even when it came to dating, a guy could tell me, I only like women who wear purple, right? And say I despise the color purple on me. I would still make sure I wore purple all the time just for their joy and satisfaction. Someone who hasn't even chosen me, but, fingers crossed because I'm wearing purple, he'll choose me, right? And that's something I see so often with women is that we constantly feel like we need to alter and edit ourselves for the pleasure of men when they don't do that for us. They don't do that for us. If a woman says to a man, I only like men who build, okay? Do you think a man who is interested in said woman is going to go out his way to take building classes, watch building videos, go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, get a fucking toolbox and some wood? Do you think they're going to do that? No, it might happen, but it doesn't happen often. They are going to go where they are appreciated and accepted as themselves. And us women need to do the same. We really need to do the same. We need to go where we can show up as ourselves 100% and be appreciated. I just, I'm just really thinking about how I used to just be like when I was dating. It's just, no. That's just no longer Tia. That's just no longer Tia. If you can't accept me as myself and who I am, and me being in the state of me living my full truth, you don't deserve me. And that's with anyone. A job, a fucking school, a relationship, whatever. And like I said, if I hated the color purple and it doesn't contribute to my confidence, it's not making me feel good. A lot of these situations and things didn't make me feel good. And you really have to focus on how things make you feel. Focusing on how things make you feel is so important. And I just can't stress this enough. And I just really think that this can help with just navigating through life, period. And also, when I talk about, focusing on how things make you feel, that does not include hurting people in the process. I want to make sure I make that clear. It does not include hurting people in the process at all. It's just so important to be authentically yourself, live your truth, be intentional. And I'm speaking to myself as well when I get on here. Like I get on here and I'm really talking to myself. I don't even think I'm talking to y'all most of the time, but that's when things start to fall in your lap. The minute that you are authentically yourself, living your truth, being intentional, that is when things start to fall in your lap. The right things, the right friendships, the right relationships, the right job, the right school, anything. You have to continue showing up as your full self, as your true self, so the right things can find you. I'm done. I'm done. I hope I got my point across. I don't even know if this episode made any sense. I just got on here and just started rambling, but I hope I got my point across, and I hope that y'all was able to pick up what I was putting down because, yeah, it was just really on my mind, especially after that marketing interview. Not even after the interview when I was doing the job applications, really. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys listen, follow, and subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And also be sure to follow the podcast Instagram at Thread of Thoughts Pod. And what are we going to do? We'll talk soon.